Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and today I will be reading a Neuvillette listener by me. So let's get into it. Neuvillette always thought of himself as someone that was entirely impartial. The impartial judge, the Eudex of Fontaine. Nothing could get past him, and he would never ever have favorites, or be biased against anyone, or toward anyone. He'd be always the impartial Eudex. Or so he thought until you came along and changed that too. There were a lot of things that changed in him, but this one thing in particular was not something he expected. And rather, it surprised him, really. He had no idea how to deal with it, and he found it quite shocking that he simply could not. It was a little bit too much for him to deal with. But he always noticed it. The way he could not be impartial when it came to you anymore. Usually, Neuvillette would not be an asshole, of course, but sometimes procedures have to be done before being granted some certain things. And yet, when it came to you, it seems like nothing needed to be done at all. Just for you to ask, and he would give you the world. Just like that time that you asked him to approve a stand that you would be having. You see, I kind of got into sewing, and I want to sew these things that I made. But I wanted to have a stand, and I don't know how long it takes. So I wanted to ask you. Well, usually you would go through someone else and not me. But I don't see the reason, as the paper would get back to me eventually. I approve. You may have your stand, my dear. Do I need a paper, or... Do not worry yourself about it. I will deal with that matter accordingly. You may go prepare it, and I will send the Melusine to give you a paper soon, he said. And just within an hour, suddenly, your papers were all ready, even though usually it would take 2 weeks. And usually he would not be shortening this to make it convenient for anyone. Laws were not meant to be convenient. They were meant to be proper. They were meant to make sure that nothing gets past the eye of the law, that everything and everyone is equal. And of course, that meant that nobody gets special treatment. Maybe except you, because you're special to him. Did he realize that? Just a little bit. Was he willing to admit it? Not so easily. It was difficult for him to come to terms with the fact that he does have a favorite indeed, and that favorite is you. There is nothing he can do about it, nothing he can do to change it. And even worse, he must accept the consequences of his own actions, and that meant, well, easily said. It meant that he was hopelessly, endlessly in love with you. And so, when a certain situation befell both of you, he had to do something about it. He could not stand idly by. It was when you had actually broken the law once. You were doing something that was not supposed to happen. There was a certain weird law that Lady Farina had once written on a whim, that you must not set any flying objects into the air within the first 3 days of each month, and so that meant that you could not be doing this at all as you released the lantern into the air. And that meant that you were reported to several Melusines, and they came to you, telling you that you would be under arrest. And just as you were about to come, with them feeling slightly nervous and guilty, not knowing how Neuvillette would behave, somehow, coincidentally and so conveniently, Neuvillette showed up nearby. Excuse me, but what is truly going on here? The Melusines were delighted to see him, and he told them about the entire situation while he just fidgeted behind. And once he was done listening to their tale, he went to you. Neuvillette, I'm really sorry. I forgot. I didn't mean to purposely break the law or anything. I have never done this before, so you know I don't mean it, right? I would usually just. Enough. Please. You frowned, looking away, when he held your hand gently, squeezing it. Please do not worry yourself, Wyan. I have decided that this shall not be a law anymore, he said, and everybody in the surrounding vicinity looked at him in shock, even you. Not a law anymore? Neuvillette, you just would not do this. Are you changing the law for me? He blushed brightly at your point because it was true, and he was not willing to admit it. And so, he shook his head. No, of course not. I have been pondering the fact for a while now. It seemed like a rather ridiculous law to have. There was no harm in releasing any flying objects, and so I failed to see the reason of the existence of this. That's fair. I guess you're right about that. Well, thank you. It was just so convenient. But this happened when I was about to go to prison over it. You would not go to prison. Oh? Is the impartial Eudex not so impartial anymore? You say, teasing him. But inwardly, he knows that it's true. He's no longer the impartial Eudex. Not when it comes to you. To you. When it comes to you, he is extremely partial, extremely biased, and he would be doing anything you ask of him. And he knows that is very dangerous for him and for you. Not that he is willing to make any changes to that now. It was far too late, and his heart was already within your hands. He was not willing to take it away now. And once you're away from prying eyes, he kissed you sweetly, confirming your suspicions. I will do anything for you, Ion. I truly mean it. And you kiss his cheek gently. I know, Neuvillette. You've made it obvious a long time ago, especially now.